Hi, I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Thanks for joining us. All this month, I've been joined at the same time by Pixar Academy Award winner John Lasseter, director of Toy Story 1 and 2, and A Bug's Life, and the upcoming Cars as well. Get a little plug in for that. John, thanks for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, especially tonight. Especially tonight. This one's going to be fun.
John is here to help me introduce the films of Japanese animator Hayao Miyazaki, a friend of his. We're honoring Miyazaki all month. And up next, we have Miyazaki's 1988 release, My Neighbor Totoro. The story of two young girls and the adventures they have when they move near a magical forest. Why? You're excited about all the Miyazaki films, but why this one so much?
This is a very special film. This film, Totoro, My Neighbor Totoro, it just captivates audiences. You know, when he made this film and came out in Japan, it became such a huge, gigantic hit over there. Everybody wanted, you know, you hear
the doll, right?
Wanted a Totoro.
Right.
I mean, look at him.
Yeah.
He's so charming and so cute. And so they decided to just start doing some merchandise over there. And, you know, this film was made in 1980. It came out in 1988, and they still cannot make enough Totoros. You go over to Japan
17 years later.
They're everywhere. My first trip to Japan was in November of 1987. I visited Studio Ghibli, and he was making Totoro at the time, and I was so excited to see this. And he took me around and was showing me the storyboards of the two girls and
storyboards that he drew himself from start to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just beautiful. And I'll never forget him taking me over to the area where they were doing the background paintings. And this film is so beautiful. It is set in the countryside of Japan that he grew up in,
right,
in a very traditional house. It's like kind of going back to those traditions. And then he showed me a cell of the cat bus. Mm-hmm. And I never forget the twinkle in his eye. And he was explaining to me this a bus that's a cat and how they ride in it. And it's like, I've never seen anything like that. One of the things that I learned when I was a young animation student, my mentors were Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, two of the great Disney animators. They always talked about great animation. You want to make the animation look like the character is thinking. Yes, that all the movements of the characters generated by the character's own thought process. And one of the things is oftentimes to show personality, you show that no two people, like you and I, would not do the same action the same way.
Right.
And in the beginning of this, you see May, the little girl, and her sister running around the house. And they're doing the same thing, but you can see how vastly different they are. And it says right away what the age of each character, not by what they're saying, but by the actions. And that's what's so remarkable about his films, his stories, but his characters. His sense of character is so remarkable. And this film is amazing, you know, because it's the magic in this film, the personality, the characters, and you really care, you know, because their mother is sick and dying, and you know, I think you know, his mother was quite sick when he was young,
for most of his life. Yeah.
And I think this is where it comes from, and it's a very special film.
Well, let's have a look from 1988, and with the voices of Dakota Fanning, her sister Elle Fanning, and Tim Daly as well. It's My Neighbor Totoro. Hi, I'm Ben Mankiewicz. I'm back again with acclaimed Pixar animator and director John Lasseter to discuss the work of another acclaimed animator, Hayao Miyazaki. John, welcome back.
Oh, thank you. This is a great one tonight. I'm so excited about this film.
You say they're all great.
I do. Well, I like all his films.
Up next, John and I are going to discuss Miyazaki's 1992 film, Porco Rosso, a film that's a great fit for TCM because you could really easily see the likes of Clark Gable, Mary Astor, and Humphrey Bogart playing the lead characters. Is Miyazaki a fan, do you know, of classic Hollywood?
I think absolutely. He's got to be when you see these films. You know, I know that early in his career, he was one of the very first Japanese animators and animation directors to travel abroad for research. You know, he went over to Italy, you know, to study, and I think he just fell in love with it over there. And it's clear by this film.
This is an for Miyazaki, this is an unusual setting. It's set in Italy in between World Wars I and II, rise of fascism.
Yeah.
That's I mean, no other his other movies are set in these sort of fanciful worlds, these worlds
Yeah.
of great imagination.
But this one also, it represents so much of what Miyazaki loves.
Right.
He loves airplanes.
Yeah, well, clearly.
He loves airplanes, and when you look at this film, the care that he takes in the design of them and the flying and the love of them, it's absolutely beautiful, this film, and also one of the things, and I don't know why,
Oh yeah,
but
this is
Miyazaki-san always draws himself as a pig.
well, that's
I don't know, but and clearly this character is sort of like a self-portrait, And
and we see pigs show up in a number of his films.
Yes, uh-huh.
Certainly, Spirited Away,
Spirited
Princess
Away, right.
Mononoke, with the boars anyway. And he really, when he sketches himself, it's a pig.
Yeah, he'll do a little caricature of himself, and it's always this kind of pig, little squatty pig in a suit and stuff like that.
I don't want to yell at you, Margot.
But if you keep acting so pig-headed, you're gonna end up dead. And I can't bear to go to another pilot's funeral.
Come home, will you?
Sorry, baby. Got a flash.
You jerk!
What I love about Miyazaki's films also is the beauty
Right.
in these films, the backgrounds. In the world of animation today, where so much computer animation, it's kind of replaced hand-drawn animation. You look at films like Porco Rosso, and you look at those gorgeous painted backgrounds,
Right.
and you go, this art form is alive and well and beautiful, and this is such a wonderful story too, and as with all of his films, with great characters.
He says about himself that what he grew up drawing, and he loved to draw as a kid, was drawing tanks and airplanes, kind of things you'd expect a young kid growing
Right.
up in war to draw. But he says that he's terrible at drawing people, which I think is certainly not true. But it's
Well.
interesting that he sees himself that way.
He's a humble man,
Yeah.
but he's one of the greatest draftsmen, I've ever seen. I mean, he does all the storyboarding for his films.
For
himself.
every movie.
Every movie.
And what strikes me, you mentioned this in an earlier film, in chronological order, start
Yeah.
to finish.
In fact, in Japan, they take his storyboards and publish them as a comic book, because they're just, you could follow along, and they're beautiful, and I love Porco Rosso. It's one of my favorites of his films.
Well, let's watch it. Here it is, featuring the voices of Michael Keaton, Brad Garrett, Carrie Elwes, and a good friend of John's, Kimberly Williams. It's Porco Rosso.